Hi, I'm Cheryl Montelle. I'm the founder of Miltree, which is a nonprofit, and our mission is to bring veterans into community through arts and dialogue. And what that means by bringing them into community is, not only the greater community, but also with the military, the active military, and our artists in Joshua Tree. We've got such a mix of people here in the high desert, and sometimes what war does to somebody that's seen war or been active duty is it makes them feel isolated because they've been through something that the greater community hasn't really seen. But as the military initiates, men and women into the military, into the armed forces, it's our duty, in my opinion, and in Miltree's opinion, to welcome them back and initiate them back into community. So I had a phone call from Danielle Guici-Wallace, who is the acting executive director of Arts Connection in San Bernardino, and she had a Veterans Initiative grant in the arts and asked me if Miltree would like to collaborate on a project she was thinking about. And I said, yes, of course. And she went ahead and we did the paperwork for the grant, and we got it. And what the grant is, it's called Joining Forces Plant to Paper Project. And what this entails is, we also included Mojave Desert Land Trust and Copper Mountain College. Those are our big collaborators. So what this grant involves is that with Mojave Desert Land Trust, we cleared invasive plants like the mustard seed plant that have no business being here in the high desert. We took the plants, we made them ready for paper making. We did paper making with Denise yesterday. Just forgot her last name. Denise Kramer. And this was our first activity. These two were our first activities. So yesterday we went with Mojave Desert Land Trust and cleared the land, and then we made paper. And we have all these other projects up to May 27th. So we're also going to have art casting workshops, casting parts. You're going to take the pulp of the paper that we've made and do castings on arms, on limbs, on small objects, and on whatever anybody wants to make. We're also going to have silk screening, and we also have writing workshops, prose and poetry, and all this will culminate in an art show March 27th at the 29 Palms Art Gallery in 29 Palms. So we have wonderful facilitators. Like I said, Denise Kramer is doing the paper making. Danielle Guici-Wallace also helped in getting the plants prepped for the paper making. We have Leilani Squires and Louise Mathias doing prose and poetry. We have like 6 writing workshops. Dwan Kellum is going to be doing the silk screening, and Kathy Allen is doing the casting. Kate McCabe is making a short film that will document the whole process, so that will also be shown at the art show. So there'll be a spoken word element, there'll be a film, and there'll be actual visual arts. And it's really exciting. And yesterday was the opening events, and it was so much fun. We had a blast. People came in from Arizona, they came in from San Bernardino, the city, San Bernardino, and Colton. Different people from around San Bernardino were helping us, and we had a lot of people out. And we also had AmeriCorps helping at Mojave Desert Land Trust because they're in residence there. So the dialogue and the art worked so well together, creating nice bonds of community. We had several vets, we had family members of vets, and we had a couple active duty. So it was very exciting and absolutely fulfilling Miltree's mission and also fulfilling the needs of the grant. So I want you all to come out and consider coming out. And for those of you that are veterans or active military or family members of active military or veterans, please, we want you.
Nice. Now, you said that several of the participants yesterday in the initial culling the plants or pulling the plants were military active and veterans.
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
And where were they from? Were they from the local Marine base?
Yeah, they were local. Actually, a couple were local and a couple were from out of town. The one of the veterans was from Arizona. Came all the way in from Arizona. His art teacher, Adrian Jenick, said they should come, and I know her, and she's wonderful. She had done one of my other projects, Desert Stories, which of course, Ted, you've done as well. So, you know, it was very exciting to see these kind of bridges made, and not just from people in Joshua Tree. I mean, everybody's welcome to this.
I love to hear that Adrian is involved. She's one of my dear friends for decades now. In fact, we lived in the same apartment building in Hollywood before we moved here, in a little cluster of artists and people from the city moving to Joshua Tree in the 90s. Great. So that's really nice. And so you mentioned that some of your partners in the project are Mojave Land Trust.
Mm-hmm. Mojave Desert Land Trust. They were amazing. They were amazing. They took care of everything. They had the gloves, they had the water, they had the snacks, they had the leaders. I mean, that's such a wonderful organization, and I hope to collaborate with them again. And Copper Mountain College was totally open. Kathy Allen really helped to make that happen. The art room was fantastic. They really want to interact more with the community as well, and I think this was a perfect project for them too. You know, and their vet resource people, Linda Burns, that was great too. They helped. She helped.
And where were you were talking about the invasive plants. Where was...
Section 33 is what we worked on yesterday, as well as actually around the Mojave Desert Land Trust. They're just starting to pop up. So we have another invasive pull March 5th. So I don't know, you know, it's a surprise. We meet at the Mojave Desert Land Trust around 8:15, and we carpool from there to whatever site they choose.
So 8:15 a.m.
on the next one for that is Saturday, March 5th. From 8:30 to 10:30 basically is when the pull is. And next week we have writing workshops with the wonderful and truly gifted, both of them, Leilani Squires, who is going to be heading up the prose part. She had something in Los Angeles called Returning Soldiers Speak. So she's been working with veterans and pulling their stories out and listening and creating spoken word events in Los Angeles at Beyond Baroque and other places for years now. And Louise Mathias she works in community, and she's a beautiful, beautiful writer, beautiful poet. Also did Desert Stories at one point, and very excited to have both of them. Next week will be the writing workshops, and that's from 12 to 3 at Paula's Dome, which I'll give you the contact information, and you can RSVP to me. That would be miltreecommunity@gmail.com. So that's MILTREE community@gmail.com. So you RSVP to me, and then we take it from there. But next week is also the paper making once again. So that's exciting.
When you say next week, can you tell me the date for that?
Yeah, I can.
Of course you can.
February 27th. The writing workshop is from 12 noon to 3 p.m. and the paper making is from 11:30 to 2:30. That's February 27th. That's at Copper Mountain College in the art room. So for further information, just email me at miltreecommunity@gmail.com. The following week, March 5th, will be, that is the casting workshop and again the plant pool. So March 5th, 8:15 to 10, or 8:30 to 10:30 is the invasive plant pool on March 5th, and from 11:30 to 2:30 will be the casting workshop with Kathy Allen at Copper Mountain College. And then there's more, but I don't want to overwhelm you.
Well, and so the meeting place for all of these upcoming events will be the college, or I'm sorry,
They're all over the place.
Paula's Dome,
Yeah,
Desert
Yeah.
Land Trust.
yeah, exactly. Those three places. And, you know, one of the simplest things is to go to miltree.org, which is MIL-TREE.org. And our calendar is up there as well. It's very exciting.
Very exciting. And Cheryl, you have such a gift for pulling people together from so many different disciplines and areas. And
Well, I have to be honest here. Danielle Guici Wallace from Arts Connection was totally responsible for the art facilitators. That is not my field of art, so I know nothing. You should have seen me paper making yesterday. It was kind of silly, but I did bring in Kate McCabe and Leilani Squires and Louise Mathias. But Danielle and I are wonderful, wonderful collaborators. I really love working with Arts Connection, and she is the brainchild behind this.
And the Arts Connection is the San Bernardino County organization.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. And, you know, that's a wonderful organization. I think it's artconnection.org. I'm not sure, but you can Google it.
Okay. And, well, I mean, you just said that you're not the one that pulled it all together, but I think that you are. You made the connection with Arts Connection, and from there it sort of grew. But also I've seen you organize how many desert stories
Well,
now?
we've just finished our 9th Desert Story.
And the upcoming 10th anniversary, you're thinking about doing two.
One at the end of January and one sometime in August, I think.
And again, both at the High Desert Cultural Center.
Cultural Center, yeah.
The Playhouse.
Absolutely, and it might possibly be in the bigger theater.
That would be nice.
I'm crossing my fingers, but either one is fine with me.
Well, so you organized Desert Stories from the beginning for 9 years, going on 10 years, and you were the person who had started the Miltree organization, and I know that a lot of people are familiar with how that originated, but would you tell us again?
Sure. Well, honestly, you know, first I read a novel called The Lotus Eaters, and it was about a photojournalist, a woman that got addicted to war. It was during the Vietnam era, and I thought that was so compelling that she got addicted to war. So she had PTSD, and she also couldn't go back and live a normal life. That was really hard for her. So I looked at her bibliography, and then I read Tim O'Brien's The Things We Carry, which is a journal of the Vietnam War, Tim O'Brien's journal of active duty. I thought, wow, that's interesting, and I read another book, and then it was recommended to me to read Dr. Ed Tick's book, War in the Soul, which is not fiction, and normally I just read fiction, but it was so compelling, again, because it was talking about how men and women are initiated into war, but they're not initiated out, and that PTSD is not just a condition, it's a soul wound, where the soul experiences way more than it anticipated. And so from there I brought Ed Tick to Joshua Tree, and we had a book reading and a community meeting. And he said, if you want to be proactive, form a community group that involves the veterans. And I thought, well, we're just so full of art and love in this community. It's so easy to do anything. So I just went to my mailing list, and people came to the first meeting right here at what was then the Red Arrow, but it's now the Beatnik Lounge. And some people continued to help me. Some people didn't, but other people came. And that's how it started. So I have a tremendous amount of support. I have a lovely board, and some are veterans, some are not, some are family members. And we have gone event to event, and we've done, you know, art shows where we've had spoken word and art. The art matching the written words of the veterans, active military, or family members. That's been here twice, and once at Chaffey College in Rancho Cucamonga. We've done writing workshops. We've done songwriting workshops that Ted, you were involved with. Rock climbing. I mean, we've done. I've had vets come in and do their one-man show. all kinds of things. So we just, any opportunity I have to create an event that will bring people here. We also, I forgot to mention, we brought Ed Tick back out and his wife Kate Dahlstead for a veterans retreat to train civilians how to support veterans coming home, which was amazing because we had 44 people from around the country, including veterans, active military, chaplains, a conscientious objector, healers, therapists, you name it. We had an ex-gang member, which is another kind of veteran, basically, of the streets, and unbelievable healing workshop. I don't like to use that word healing too much, but hopefully that will be the result of bringing people together and sharing dialogue, sharing experiences, listening and sharing experiences,
Something that Dr. Tick said that has stuck with me was his definition of PTSD as
a soul wound. Post-traumatic soul disorder. Yeah.
Right. And of course, in Joshua Tree, we're in a very unique place and position, as you mentioned, because there is such a vibrant arts scene and community of musicians and artists and writers, but we also happen to be a stone's throw from the largest Marine base in the country. So we really are in a unique place, and so Milltree, Dr. Tick recommending that you put together an organization here, really, it couldn't be a better spot for something like that. And so it's really encouraging to know how much support you've gotten from the arts community, but also being able to connect with so many veterans and active duty or recent returnees.
Lovely, wonderful people, that I would have never met had this organization not began. And, Milltree's logo has a bridge between civilians and military, and really it's all about bridging communities, and knowing that we're all in it together,
Well, something else that Dr. Tick said when he spoke here in the, I don't remember if it was Red Air, I think it was the Beatnik by then, but he said something, there was a room full of people and from various backgrounds and disciplines and life experiences, and he asked all of us to rise if we were veterans, and a few people stood up. He asked if anyone had family that was in the military, a few more people, all the way down the line to, did you ever protest a war? So basically, every person in the room had been affected in one way or another, and of course, living in a country which sees itself, in a sense, as the guardian of freedom, or the higher sort of aspiration of our country's military involvements and things dictates that a large chunk of the budget of our federal government goes to military, but not very much goes to, as you said, to the returning veterans or to the returning troops.
They're not taken care of the way they should be. Other cultures do take care of their veterans better, and I don't know what the disconnect is. I haven't studied it, but each community can do their part.
Well, and without getting too, I don't know the statistics, but I know that the depression and suicide rates among veterans and returning troops is very high.
It's very high. I will say this. I'm also part of the USC, the Los Angeles Veterans Collaborative in the USC School of Social Work. Every so often I pop in there, and there are a multitude of organizations to help the homeless, to help help feed them, to clothe them. I mean, there are a lot of organizations really trying, but there is a disconnect on where the veterans are to getting to the organizations. It takes a tremendous amount of work to bring it all together. I don't know why, but I think I'm going to use the word shyness, but sometimes it's not like the veterans are knocking on Miltree to get into Miltree. We have to create safe environments, and all these organizations have to feel safe for the veterans to actually participate in. And that is still a conundrum, that I have to learn about. I'm not as versed in that, but I do know there is a disconnect, and it's not just, it's probably nationwide. It's not just in LA, and certainly not just with Miltree either.
Well, it is possible. I'm just speculating, but I'm thinking that maybe military communities are very sort of insulated.
Yeah.
Yes, insular. And so, how would you, how long has Miltree been in operation?
Since 2012.
So,
4
about
years.
4 years.
Yeah.
Well, you've done a lot of work. How do you reach people that are in the military or formerly
You
in the
sit down
military?
and you dialogue. You say, hey,
How do you get to the place where
Well,
I'm asking you because if someone was starting their own organization or if they were interested in doing this kind of work, where do you start?
Well, I think we started with asking, do you know, different people that were interested, do you have a friend that's a veteran? Can you bring them to the meeting? I've met people along the way at other veteran organizations that had friends that lived out here. I mean, listen, Miltree has set up in front of the Joshua Tree health food store, and done outreach that way. We've been at the Joshua Tree Music Festival, and actually one of my most active members is a veteran that I met at the Joshua Tree Music Festival who served in Afghanistan and Iraq, so it's hard to say how you do that. I mean, accosting somebody and saying, hey, are you a veteran? I mean, I don't think that really works, but I'll do anything to create dialogue. And I remember sitting down with a veteran named Journey, and just, we met at Two Natural Sisters, and we just sat and talked, and his experiences were profound and not unlike the experiences I found in Ed Tick's book, So I think you have to approach all of this, approach people with your heart open and without too much of an agenda, and of course I can get caught up in an agenda to fill Miltree with veterans, and I've had to really let that go and let it come to me a little bit. So, for example, having this Joining Forces Plant to Paper project is really wonderful because it's not about how was your service and da-da-da. It's just making paper. It's just clearing invasives. There, the natural course of dialogue happens, and bonds of trust and friendship begin just by doing active things together. And that's why, our mission statement says dialogue and arts and nature, of course, because nature is a great denominator.
And also a healing force.
Yeah.
And I think you hit on something really important, and that is that an activity such as rock climbing or paper making is something where people might be drawn in for one specific thing, but that's where relationships can begin.
Yeah.
Where, and forgive me if I'm mistaken, but maybe asking veterans to get together with songwriters or with artists, it might be a little bit more of a challenge, because you're asking these guys and women also to share something that's very deep in their experience, kind of right off the bat. And in a way, I'm wondering if one type of project is more successful in your mind than another type, or if you would lean more towards the sort of
Well, I have to say, I mean, Miltree is a work in progress. So, for example, the paper making and the plant pulling was just filled to the brim. The writing workshops will be a safe environment for whoever has a story, to tell. This is sort of a veterans initiative, so it'd be great if some of the stories are about time served, or what family members feel about that, or community members. But really, we just have to be flexible and open. And so if we do a songwriting workshop again, if they don't want to write about the war, if they don't want to write about those experiences, and they just want to write a song, so be it. That's great, because all we're trying to do is make bonds of trust and friendship. And, Miltree is growing, and learning as we go, so we've made, we brought young military pups in here for a songwriting workshop, and vets from the Vietnam War, and, they could have blended. They didn't necessarily blend as well as they could have. At some point, I would love to see a mentoring, but the ones going into the military, they're just learning about what it takes to be active duty. They're not veterans with that experience, so that may not work. But writing songs together about whatever, that can work.
Right. And that's a really good point too that you make, that the experience of veterans from Vietnam or previous wars is going to be very different from the experience of these very young men and women who, many of them come from small towns. Maybe the first time that they're actually leaving home is to go to Iraq, or to go to Afghanistan, or to one of the conflicts, more recent conflicts. So their experience, or their stories that they might want to tell, or subjects of their work in arts or music, would be very different from those of more middle-aged or older,
But there
mostly
can be a
men.
mentoring. On some level there can be a mentoring, like at the retreats that I've been to. I've also been to a Soldier's Heart retreat in Mount Pinos that Miltree did not sponsor. And, there were all kinds of veterans there. There weren't active duty there, but there were young veterans and old veterans and women veterans, and, and a tremendous amount of transformation happened there, because if you've been through war, you've been through war. I mean, there are similar and dissimilar things about each war, of course, but you've still been active duty, and maybe you've had to kill someone, maybe not, maybe you've seen somebody's head shot off, I don't know, but these experiences, are traumatic, and sharing them in a safe environment, if one feels like sharing them, then that's again, that can take the load off the psyche by just getting it out there and having folks bearing witness. I mean, that's what community can do, is bear witness. What we did at Art of War, when the veterans got up and shared their stories, is the community at large bore witness, and in that there is transformation and healing.
Exactly. So a World War I veteran, there was one gentleman here for the songwriting workshop who spoke about maybe his grandfather, World War I, and it was not really encouraged, and maybe it was just not a very safe sort of feeling for some of the veterans of the earlier wars to come home and talk about it. There was a lot of silence, a lot of older men sitting silently and rocking in their chairs and not sharing their experience of war, where today, hopefully, and through organizations such as yours and through EdTech and different people doing work like that, we're hopefully there is more of an outlet for...
Well, society has evolved in that, more people can hold the stories. Whereas I think, veterans from those generations didn't want to talk about it because because it was awful and they didn't want to share it. So they bore the burden alone, and I do think that is changing. And again, in an arts community such as this, we can transform things. We can share a story by casting art, or, there's somebody that, Aaron Toole, who makes war mugs. That's what he does. He makes mugs that have symbols of war and basically little stories of war right on the mug. They're amazing. And this is how he transforms his experience.
Well, and also we live in an instant communication, a time where social media and the internet makes it more possible for the younger veterans and troops or returnees to have a forum where World War I, II, even in Vietnam or Korea, there wasn't really an immediate accessible way to share with, and so probably a lot of people felt kind of limited in what they could express, where hopefully nowadays people realize that they do have sort of outlets. And so thank you for providing outlets for our whatever we think of wars or particular wars or conflicts. We all have to agree that the people who volunteer or were drafted into wars deserve all of the support that we can possibly give them.
Absolutely. They are not the cause of the wars.
Never.
So, well, for those of you out there that are interested in finding out more, again, please contact me at milltreecommunity@gmail.com, or check out our website, milltree.org, which has a dash between mill and tree,
And tell us the dates again for the upcoming events.
Well, there's so many.
Well, the next
two for Joining Forces Plant to
February
Paper Friday,
27th.
February 27th, which is Saturday, is 11:30 to 2:30 paper making at Copper Mountain College, and 12 to 3 at Paula Jean's Dome is the writing workshop. And that is a series of writing workshops, but anyone is welcome for any of them. So come on down. And then March 5th, the following weekend, the following Saturday, 8:30 to 10:30 at Mojave Desert Land Trust for invasive plant pulls, and 11:30 to 2:30 for the art casting workshop.
And once again, mill-tree.org.
Yeah.
And the email address to
It's
find out?
milltreecommunity@gmail.com with no dash.
milltreecommunity@gmail.com. Very good.
Yeah.
Cheryl Montelle, thank you so much for all you do.
Ted. Thank you.